Howdy, Texans, and welcome to this week's edition of Sit Down with Ted. My name is Ted Davis, Director of Schreiner Broadcasting, and joined now today by the man who makes it all go, the Athletic Director here at Schreiner University, Bill Raleigh. Good afternoon, Bill.
Well, thank you, Ted. Glad to be here, and I appreciate the comment making things go. Sometimes I feel like I'm holding on for dear life, but
having all these sports, is it like herding cats?
Yes, very much. Having 20 different programs.
Yeah.
I'm pretty well versed in a few of them. Some of them I have no idea. I'm getting a crash course in shotgun and rifle and some of those things. Soccer, I'm becoming a reluctant fan of soccer over the years. But being a basketball guy, I'm a basketball. That's my first love.
Well, there was a big announcement this fall at Schreiner University. Football has not been here since 1957. That was the last year that Schreiner had a football team, and now it's coming back. So take us through the process of deciding that, yes, we're going to do football again.
I don't know if we have all it's been a long story, but a lot of this stuff started, they've been talking about it for years from what I understand. I got here in 2017, but it's been something as a non-Texan. When I got to Texas in 96, my athletic director, who had hired me at the time, was at the University of Dallas, handed me the Friday Night Lights book and said, read this because it explains athletics in Texas a lot.
Yes.
And ever since that point, I've kind of watched it, and I've been to high schools and facilities that high schools have, and it really hit me when my daughters went to high school, and I have two daughters who have no interest in athletics whatsoever because their dad was a coach, and I became a season ticket holder to the high school football games because that's where my daughters were going to be every Friday night. So it's just part of the DNA of the area, and especially the Hill Country in particular. So when I was interviewed for the job, one of the questions Dr. McCormick asked me was, what sports would you add? And I said, the big one that I see missing is football. And he kind of chuckled and, kind of talked about it. But that kind of, that's kind of, I think, got it rolling a little bit more, and we're at that point now. We've kind of expanded. We did some AGI stuff, which was emissions growth initiatives that some worked. Shotgun's been great. Right. Equestrian's been very, very well. Wrestling has been great for us. But we've kind of run out of sports to add, and this is the big one that comes on the table and kind of fits. We're uniquely Texan, and I joked all the time we are uniquely Texan because we don't have football. So hopefully we'll become uniquely Texan because we have a good football team.
So you hope to field a team by 2025, but the process really begins this summer, right, when you start hiring a staff?
Yes, that's when we hire their head coach is when the ball starts really going downhill. But yeah, it's a big project, and that's what people don't. That's probably the messages I keep trying to tell people is this is not like any other sport. If they told me to put a basketball team together, I could probably do it and we'd be playing next fall.
Right.
It takes an army because there's 125 kids. The equipment, it's a staff of we'll hire a head coach and then 3 full-time assistants probably 4 or 5 part-time assistants. It's adding athletic trainers to handle the number of kids. It's a strength coach, which will help benefit everybody. It's an equipment manager because you have to manage all this stuff. So it's just a lot of it. And then 125 males on campus changes the culture a little bit. Yeah. So we have to help make sure the academic side is up to speed and make sure the cafeteria can handle that new number. And then we're trying it. We're going to try to do it more holistically, meaning looking at trying to do a band, see if we can, because there's if you've been to any high school football game,
there's
big. More kids in the stands in the band than there are on the field. So I think that is an area because there's not a lot of D3 bands out there. Then you have the flag twirlers and the cheerleaders and all that stuff. So I'm hoping if everything goes well, we're looking at adding 200 to 250 more students. And if we do that, it's going to be fantastic.
Now initially you'll play at the high school stadium here. That's the plan, Kerrville-Tybee. But are there long-term plans to have an on-campus facility? Yeah,
we've gone through a master planning process for athletics. So there eventually we want to get it to campus, but there's other things that are higher on the priority list. It's tough to justify a stadium for 5 games a year, and that's basically what you'll have. Yes, we could use it for soccer so that's another maybe 15 games. The idea, and we have a great stadium in Kerrville here. It's be better at one of the better Division III stadiums that the teams will play in,
Yes,
which
it is.
Which is fantastic. We have a great relationship with the KISD and the present coaching staff over there, and I think it's just a win-win for the community. So we'll do that first, and there's some other, there's a lot of other things we need to address that, are higher on the priority.
Now, your background is coaching.
Yes.
Basketball coach for a long time. You were at Southwestern for a long time.
I was at Southwestern when they added football. So
okay.
I don't know whether I'm smart or an idiot because I've gone through it once. But I was at actually I've been in the league really since 2099 when I went to Southwestern. But prior to that, I was at the University of Dallas, who's now a member of our conference.
Right.
So I've been at 3 institutions in the state of Texas, all in the same conference.
Okay,
so.
now you're on the administrative side. Do you miss the coaching? The it's tough because you either win or lose. Pat Riley described it as total elation or abject misery. Yes. That's what coaching is. Do you miss that aspect?
No, I sleep so much better. My wife tells me I'm happier around the house, so that's a good thing. I miss the camaraderie of it. I miss, and I've heard people say it for years. I thought it was always garbage when I was coaching, but it's so true. You miss the practice. I miss the teaching of the game. I miss the, every once in a while I'll show up and just go sit and watch practice for a little bit, and just to get that feeling back. But you miss those relationships. You miss the watching a team develop and watching players get better and all those things. I don't miss the recruiting. I don't miss the late nights. I don't miss the you die every time you lose. The wins are great, but the losses are much worse.
Right. I know. That's Pat Riley said you forget the wins and you keep the losses.
Yes.
That's what he said. That's right.
And I've told this to every coach I've ever hired is I never won a game in my career.
Yeah.
The players did.
Yeah.
But I lost a whole lot of them. And when I don't, I used to not sleep. I would be up at, I'd walk, it's not a lifestyle that is long term, and I knew that going in. So I always had the vision of becoming an athletic director at some point.
Yeah.
And really, what happened was in 2013, Southwestern had just started football. And went through our inaugural season, and the AD knew I wanted to get into administrating full time. I was an assistant AD, but I was coaching as well. Yeah. And she came to me and said, "Hey, there's an opportunity to go full time in administration, and I know you want to do that. I think you should do this." And my wife and I talked about it, and it's been great. And I knew I wanted to then. I always tell people I was a bad assistant coach. I like being in charge. So I knew as an assistant coach, or as an assistant AD, I like being the one who has to make those final decisions. So that's how I got here, and now we're back full circle, and football's coming.
All right, we're playing basketball now, and you've got two coaches that have great backgrounds. Stacey Stevens was an All-American at the University of Texas. She played in the WNBA. And Marwan El Rakabawi is putting together a really nice team. They're off to a 6-1 start. When you see a team develop like that, that's got to be satisfying for you.
Yes, it's enjoyable to watch them play. What I've done is I coach coaches, and it's been fun. We have two very good basketball coaches, but with very different paths. And Marwan is like me, as a lawyer. He was a lawyer for a long time, and I'm a lawyer by education who was smart enough to get into coaching quicker. But I've had a good relationship with them just to be able to go in and talk. It's tough, when the AD's former sport is a sport you coach. Yeah. Can be a tough situation because I have to really be careful not to step across.
Hey, on that inbounds pass, if you just
and if you notice when at games, I do a lot of walking and try, just paying attention, but not getting too invested because I don't want to be looking over their shoulder.
Right.
But it's been fun. Marwan's got great talent in the program right now, young talent in the program. Like I said, being around this league for 20 some odd years, that is one of the most talented teams that have probably ever come through the SCAC. Yes. So, but it's also a struggle at times when you get all those good players. You got to find a way to use them the right way and all that stuff. But both of them are always come in and we can talk, and I've always told myself, I'll answer any question. If you want me to, you have anything you want me to talk about or ask a question about, I'll give you an answer. But I try to make sure they know it's a suggestion. It's not, I'm not looking at, well, you should have gone to zone like I told you. No, it's, you got to make that choice because they got to run that program.
I hope people know that here at Schreiner, you've had national championships in golf and in the rifle program, the shooting program. How proud of you are you of that?
Well, they happened before I got here. Well, the shooting did. I didn't really know much about it, but the fact that a small school like Schreiner has a national championship in an NCAA sport in golf is incredible, and that's something that we're really striving to get back to. And like I said, I feel good about the path we're on. But people don't realize. I mean, it's a tough battle every year, and we've seen that with our teams that are getting better. Men's and women's soccer. Women's soccer team hadn't won a game in 2 years, and ended up qualifying for the conference tournament and finished fourth in the league, which is a great improvement. Men's soccer's gotten better, volleyball's gotten better, so we're really on a nice trajectory about it, and that's where you take pride. And the winning championship, that's what you play the game for. People always ask me that question. What's more pride? I always got pride out of it, and I love going to graduation and watching those young men walk and women walk across the stage, and you see them come in as children and walk away as adults, and that's what I'm in this business for, and to me that's more important. Them having a great experience. Now winning helps that, and having those championships or hanging those banners is always a good thing, but it's the bigger picture when you see the quality of individuals that we turn out.
I've been impressed with the students here because at this level, at Division III, they really are student athletes.
Yes.
I mean, they don't get scholarships, so they're here to learn, and that's got to be gratifying too, to know that they're in there making their life better.
Yeah, I always tell the story. When I was in law school, I interviewed for a GA job at Seton Hall University with PJ Carlissimo, and basically the job was going to be wake up their 7'2" kid who had trouble going to class and take him to class. And that's when I went, that's not what athletes was to me. Athlete you're a student athlete, and that's what made me gravitate towards the Division III level is our students. There's a million reasons why kids don't play at our level. You're not getting a scholarship, you're not getting easy grades. You're doing things that most of the kids on campus aren't doing.
Right.
I always really love talking about student athletes because they're doing this because they love doing it. They're doing it for the same reason. I never use the word quit with kids. I use retire. And I always tell them at some point you're going to give up the game that you've played your whole life. You're going to retire. And it could be, hopefully it's after 4 years, you have a great experience and you win a lot of games and everything's awesome. It could be after 2 years, and it could be after 1 year. It could be after however you're going to make that decision. And they're here for the education, and that's I take a lot of pride in that. That's why I say graduation is always, to me, is the pinnacle of it, because that's why you're here. That's why they should be doing all this work, and winning games is more for them having fun, and it's their memories. Like I said, having coached for over 20 years, whenever I got up, alumni come back, they didn't talk about a win. They didn't talk about records. They talked about experiences. They talked about the friendships. And I tell people this, one of my proudest moments was I went to a wedding of a former player of mine, and the 4 groomsmen were his teammates. And as a coach, you go, those kids would not have come together and probably met each other, except for this experience, and now they're lifelong friends. And that's the backside of what we do, and that's the joy of what we do.
It's good stuff. We're doing it right here at Schreiner. And Bill Raleigh is at the head of the athletic department. Thanks for the sit down with Ted. And
well, Ted, thank you for being a part of our program. We were very fortunate, and I'll be honest with you. I did COVID year. I did call in the games, and we have a definite upgrade with you. You've done a great job, and it's really this has been a great addition to our getting to talk to the student athlete, getting to talk to the coaches, and we're just happy you're part of our program.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be back in Texas. Glad to be in the Hill Country. I'm a native Texan. I'm home. And Matt, thanks to Matt Camuzzi for keeping us on the air. All right, that's Sit Down with Ted this week. We'll do it again next week here on the Schreiner Sports Network. What do we say? Paws up, claws out. I'm out.